Okay, so let's turn over to Luke chapter 24, verse 44. Let's take a look at what Jesus says to these disciples here in this verse. And he, being Jesus, said unto them, These are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Now, this is what we're going to investigate through this entire series. We want to see what's going on with this particular verse and how it has ramifications for understanding what we have come to call the Old Testament. Jesus is very specific in this verse, saying that the things written in the law of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning him must be fulfilled. Now, where are those things located? Depending on which canon you're looking at, it kind of changes. Because the Christian Old Testament canon is in a different order than the Hebrew canon. And this is a little bit of a difference. And it is significant when we go into the scriptures and we're trying to understand canon. But go with me over to Luke chapter 24, verse 27. Because this is also very important to our discussion right here. Jesus is talking to the disciples there on the Emmaus Road, and Luke records this for us in verse 27. And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he, being Jesus, expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. Now, what's important here is that Luke is lining up that the law of Moses and all the prophets are scripture, which is very important when we take a look at what comes out in the rest of the New Testament writings. Because when we turn over to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, Paul says this, all scripture. Now, interestingly, Luke just lined scripture up with Moses and the prophets, and down in verse 44, Jesus said Psalms. So for these men, scripture included the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms. And we are going to talk about all of these things. But before we talk about all of this information, what I want to do is I want to help us set up in our next few segments I guess if you want to call it this, the hermeneutic. What kind of hermeneutic is Ray using when he's going into the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms and trying to teach Jesus? Well, we found out that those things testify to Jesus, and 2 Timothy 3:16 says that they are good for instructing us in righteousness. But we need to see how Jesus teaches us to interpret those scriptures, how Paul is going to teach us to interpret those scriptures, and that's where we're going to spend our time in the next few segments.